Hey guys, welcome to I'm Adam.
And I'm Bruce.
And we'd love to write a clever intro here, but instead we'll just talk more about Overwatch.
You ever play a match against two Mays? That shit is hell on earth. It's the fucking worst.
Also, please stop whining about Bastion. It just makes you sound like a scrub.
Yeah, it really does. There, we started the show. Now, on to the news story. Why doesn't Overwatch cost $40 on every platform?
It's the question I've been asking for years. So bizarrely, ever since Blizzard announced the pricing structure for their recently released hero shooter Overwatch back in November 2015, nobody seemed too upset about the price disparity.
Yeah, namely that players could buy the base game at $40 on PC, and that the only version available for console players would be the $60 Origins Edition.
Yeah, in fact, at the time, many expected the game to be free to play, and were simply surprised that the game would cost money at all, right, Lawrence?
Yes. Yeah, it's strange. I think everybody expected it to be kind of like the MOBA structure, where there would be a select amount of free heroes and then a roster of paid heroes.
Makes sense.
I remember the time Jeff Kaplan, the games director, said that would actually fuck with the design of the game. They wanted hero switching to be important. They wanted team comps to be important. Therefore, it was important that all the characters were available from the outset.
Sure.
So, you know, that's good reasoning, but now that Overwatch is out and gamers are starting to put in some skin, we're starting to see some discussion regarding the game's weird pricing structure.
That's true.
Specifically, Twinfinite's Justin Carter wrote a pretty well-reasoned editorial bringing up a lot of good points regarding the bizarre release. For starters, Carter points out the double standard involved here, that both Star Wars Battlefront and Titanfall were derided for releasing without single-player modes, but somehow Overwatch has a pass in that regard.
Those games come from EA, and they are Nazi Hitler.
And Blizzard is Jesus. They're great.
They're basically Valve.
Carter also notes that even though the more expensive Origins Edition comes with some extra digital goodies, a huge chunk of them aren't available on console.
Just to elaborate on that bit, on PC, the Origins Edition comes with 5 Origin skins and 5 bonuses for other Blizzard games. That's Heroes of the Storm, Tracer character, World of Warcraft Winston pet, etc. All that fun stuff. Naturally, these are not available on consoles because those games are not real.
Yeah, on console.
No, they're make-believe.
Yeah, we actually agree with Carter here. If you run the math on Overwatch, it shouldn't add up to a $60 value, and that becomes even more confusing when Blizzard is selling a more price-appropriate version on PC, but only PC. So what's the fucking deal here?
What's the deal?
Yeah, what is
Hey, so we can come up with a few counterpoints, right, Lawrence?
Yeah. Just to be clear, we're doing this for the sake of discussion. We're not trying to make excuses for Blizzard, because, to be honest, we don't need to. The game seems to be selling well, and people seem to be enjoying it, so this is all just kind of academic anyway. So first of all, when it comes to pricing, there's the problem with perception. Even though you, viewer, may scoff at this, especially because in this case it costs you $20 more on console, people really do judge a product by how much it costs.
Yes, they do.
This doesn't relate to us or to you guys because you're watching a news story about gaming, and obviously you're a little bit lower, but this is more towards people who just walk into a GameStop and want to buy something.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to research our purchases and draw deeper comparisons to other products in the market, kind of similar to how Carter's aforementioned editorial drew comparisons between Overwatch and Battlefront. Most people don't do that, or they don't think that thoroughly about their purchase. This is more about casual shoppers.
People that only really play like Call of Duty, but saw a commercial for Overwatch on TV and thought, wow, what a monkey.
Yeah, if COD costs $60 and Overwatch only costs $40, they'll wonder why. Rather than invite questions about relative quality, it's possible Blizzard just set the price at the console standard $60 to not imply the game is worth less.
Right, for example, Battleborn dropped to $40 just ahead of Overwatch's launch.
Yeah.
On one hand, that's very cool of 2K games and Gearbox to do that for gamers, and a great way to provide a cheaper alternative.
Yeah, on the other though, it implies that 2K doesn't think Battleborn can compete with Overwatch at the same price point, even though Battleborn has a story mode.
Yeah, and it is a completely different game, but a lot of people have been drawing comparisons because, yes, they do look very, very similar.
Yeah.
So if we extend that logic, wouldn't that then work against Overwatch on PC since it costs less? Not exactly.
Yeah, Lawrence, explain.
This gets murky. Okay, so games have been cheaper on the PC for a while, so the price comparisons aren't exactly the same. For a while there, even AAA games launched at $50 on PC while they were still $60 on console.
right, yeah.
There was a really weird window there. In fact, Activision was the first publisher to push the PC price point up to $60 with Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. And I remember there were a lot of threads at the time saying, that's ridiculous. $50 was fine. 60 is outrageous. And a lot of people, you know, there was the whole dedicated server
There always
thing.
is. Yeah.
Oh boy, it's fun. So layer on top of that ridiculous Steam sales and key resellers like G2A, Greene Gaming, the PC economy isn't quite as rigid as console retail. If you want, you can look around and typically find discount codes or something for a modern retail game. So, and I think it also factors in that the PC audience may be a little more savvy in that regard, just by virtue of having to put together a PC and figure out how PC gaming works. Kind of means that you've done a little more research and are a little more invested in the gaming scene than somebody that just may walk into a GameStop and throw $60 down on a product.
I just want a box that works.
and buy a PlayStation 4.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, we can't say for sure, but we guess Blizzard factored this in when pricing the game out on PC. That's just basically how economics works. The price of relative goods in your given market dictates what you can charge for your product.
Yeah.
That's also why other markets like Australia get fucked over with games.
Oh, man.
But that is a whole different story for another day.
Sorry, Aussies. That aside, there's one big reason nobody seems too upset about the price disparity. None of this shit matters. The game is good.
It's true.
The game might objectively be comparable to games like Star Wars Battlefront and Titanfall, but subjectively, the comparisons are a lot harder to make.
For example, every hero in Overwatch plays extremely different. Contrast this to the 3 mechs in Titanfall that are subtly different, or the various guns in Battlefront that don't completely change the way you play, then you can start to see the differences.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Blizzard has salted the earth with lots of content to create a charming world for Overwatch. The animated shorts, while a little stereotypical, are very well made and drum up a lot of interest and attachment to the world of Overwatch. Granted, Star Wars Battlefront had that baked in thanks to the Star Wars movies, but Overwatch still delivers more varied gameplay.
Ultimately, that's all that matters, right, Lawrence?
Yes, if people feel like they're getting their money's worth, then they are. You can try and talk somebody out of it, say like, no, objectively you're not getting as much, but if they're happy with their purchase, that's really all that matters. And if Blizzard found a way to make people happy through fancy CG shorts and giant statues, then they did it, and they had the money to do it.
I can kind of speak from the opposite perspective here, because obviously, like, I'm a PC gamer. I don't mind paying $60 for Overwatch. I paid it for a pre-order, not a big deal. But I think if you saw the price disparity and you were just like, I'm gonna buy COD or Overwatch, and then you heard about the fact that Overwatch was $40, it was cheaper on PC, I think that might turn you off to the game. Now, let's say you hadn't played either. I don't think anybody, like console gamers probably didn't jump into the open beta for Overwatch first thing. It was only 5 days, so if they didn't catch that, maybe they don't think it's worth $60 if they saw that it's worth it's 40 on PC.
One thing other people probably don't really consider or haven't considered if you're like a new console player, but Blizzard games typically are in it for the long run.
Yes.
So Overwatch 2 is not coming out next year. There's a lot of microtransactions in the game, so you can buy skins and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's ideally to support new maps, new characters, and things that make this game last for the next possible 10 years. And so you have to look at it that way. And for me, that's, yes, $60 is not a problem.
Lawrence, do you think that possibly Blizzard might lower the console version of Overwatch, like the price in maybe the next 6 months or so?
I think that's possible. They might re-release it in a year or so with all the new content they've added on disc, something like that. What's interesting to me is when people draw these comparisons, they don't factor in how people play multiplayer games. Somebody might buy Call of Duty, and it has a campaign, and it's got 18 modes, but people only play TDM and TDM Hardcore. Try to find a fucking match of anything else 6 months after Call of Duty comes out. So essentially, people are paying $60 for one game mode and 12 maps.
But there is the perceived value, though, Lawrence.
There's the perceived
you've got
value,
all
so-
these different modes. You got the single player campaign. It's totally worth that $60, right? The whole package.
Yeah.
But then if Overwatch is like, well, all I get is this, these 2 modes, and then no single player, then I think people might think it's not worth $60 on console.
Absolutely, and if we're dealing with perception, maybe Blizzard found a way around that by releasing a lot of pretty CG trailers to distract people from the actual volume of content that they probably wouldn't have used anyway. So it's a really interesting case study.
Yeah, it can also be compared to the orange box that launched back on the Xbox 360 way
That's
back
right,
in the day.
yeah.
But because of the download structure and the pricing model with the old consoles, they never updated the games to keep up with the PC titles.
Right.
Now, with today's consoles, they're actually updated the exact same way PC games are. Not exactly, but pretty close. Now we have mods and Fallout on console. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You could probably see Overwatch succeeding where Team Fortress failed.
I'm actually hoping that Overwatch goes the way of Team Fortress 2, which was eventually, because I paid for Team Fortress 2 years ago, and eventually they went free to play.
Sure.
So maybe Overwatch in the next 5 years might go free to play. That's a long time to wait for this game, though. For me, it's totally worth the $60.
It's worth the wait, kids.
Yeah, it's definitely you should play.
Wait,
No, it's not worth the wait. They should buy it right now and play it.
I bought it yesterday.
All right, let's list off all the characters of Screw Attack. You guys ready?
Sure.
Craig, Chad, Sean,
Josh,
Sam.
Sam.
What?
Squiggy Wiggums.
Squiggy Wiggums, Handsome Tom,
Low shirt,
Low Shirt. Who else?
Mega Man,
Jared.
Tetris tattoo.
Hubert.
But they all have names, though. So what are their names?
Those are their names.
Male Samus Aran.
Yoshi.
Would you walk into a Cherokee tribe and tell them those can't be their names?